it's knowing how BYU operates. I struggle to think that he's week one starter. But again, I don't know how long you suspend him for. But you got to maintain the BYU prides itself on its standards, and there's a lot of people that want to be at BYU and they value that honor code and want to be a part of that. So it's to me, Matt. I think in ultimately we'll have Greg Scoris from Inside Sources, KSL News Radio legal analyst, joining us at the bottom of the hour to talk about this more, the reaction to Jake Retzloff's response. But to me, in all this, there's no winner in this.
No,
BYU, Jake Retzloff, Jane Doe AG. No one wins in this, in my opinion, and I think it's one of those deals where no matter what BYU decides with Jake on the Honor Code office and the Board of Trustees, it's going to have pushback no matter what, and whatever their decision is. So it's a tough deal, man.
Really
it is a tough situation, and I think you and I think would love to just kind of move on and talk football. I mean, I'll just be fully honest. Like, it's not a fun discussion to have.
No.
But it's a big story that everyone's asking right now. You can't go anywhere, Matt. Like, are you like me, where it's like when you talk to people about BYU sports, what's going on with Jake? Everyone wants to know.
It happened to me this morning. I'm filling up gas at Costco. There's a BYU fan in a BYU shirt. And we start talking, and of course this comes up, and yeah, he said much. And I think this is the common sentiment here. To quote this fan at Costco, he said BYU will be, quote, darned if they do, darned if they don't. And that is the unfortunate situation here, is there's not a obvious choice to where everyone comes out of it okay. Any way you slice it and dice it, because not only is Jake quarterback one at BYU, he's of the Jewish faith. This is unprecedented territory to have a high-profile athlete be of the Jewish faith, and to be honestly bringing together the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the Jewish faith and these communities, bringing them together. It was such a positive thing from that perspective prior to the civil lawsuit being filed. This is so hard. I've always had an interesting relationship with the Honor Code, because it's in a lot of previous cases. We don't need to pick on Brandon Davies' situation here, because that's not the only one, but in a lot of previous cases, sometimes to me it's felt like they've been maybe a little too harsh, a little too unfair, kicking people out, ruining their lives. And in some respects, I like that they're giving people opportunities to make amends while not having their lives thrown into chaos. But on the flip side, when there's something as serious as this,
and there's public documents,
and there's admittance of sexual conduct that occurred, consensual, but he admitted that it occurred. I also believe the Honor Code is a good thing, and that needs to be upheld. And you can't just run afoul of not doing these things and not pay some sort of price. I don't know what the right price is, and I think that's the hard thing in this situation, is what is the right move to appease the Honor Code, but also not penalize Jake without this civil lawsuit having a conclusion.
Because, and to your point, if Jake, what he's saying in his response is the truth, if he's saying what, his side of the story, and if that is the actual facts here, I do feel sick at the idea that he potentially has a season or games taken away where he was under the thought that it was consensual. Now, but then you tie back to the Honor Code, and then it becomes like, this is BYU.
Right.
But then you also, on the flip side, with the alleged victim, Jane Doe AG, what she experienced and what she filed in her civil lawsuit, you feel for that too. So again, there's just no.
It's bad all around.
It's a tough situation, Matt. But I do, and that's why we wanted to lead with this, because I did want to hear Jake's side, because it took a long time. It's been, 37 days, 5 weeks had gone by, and it's been probably the slowest time in terms of the news cycle for the team in those 5 weeks. So it's created this ominous, what's going on with Jake? Everyone's kind of wondering what's going on with Jake. This past Monday, we were at the BYU golf event, Media Day golf event, and no Jake Retzloff. Right. You look at all these hype videos that BYU's putting out with their photo shoot that they had with their creative team. There's no Jake Retzloff. You're seeing more Trayson Bourget. No Jake Retzloff. Jake Retzloff is the biggest celebrity on the team from last year. He might not be the best player,
right?
But he's the biggest celebrity. It's you're not having him around. How do you continue to act like everything's fine? And everyone was saying all the right things on Monday, but it's just it's still this awkward thing right now. and you'd like some more clarity. But it was good to have his side and hear that, at least read that rather, because you do want to hear both sides in these stories. Let's take a break, though. We'll get to more, maybe the on-field stuff with BYU's quarterback situation in 2025. And then again, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll have Greg Scoris, KSL legal analyst and host of Inside Sources here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Myth. You might have heard that you need to spend a fortune these days to get a powerful computer. Correction. At PC Laptops, we wanted to prove that wrong. So here's the most amazing deal that we've ever done at PC Laptops for you in over 30 years. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Take one home today. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there, there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte with you. 9 weeks from today, BYU football kicks off the 2023 season, or 2025 season, excuse me. Getting my dates mixed up here. 2025 season against Portland State, 63 days. And the Cougars, the season's coming quick, Matt. About a month from now, we'll have BYU football fall camp. Earlier this week, we just had BYU Golf Media Days. Safe to say, BYU football is around the corner, and you can listen to all of the action right here on KSL News Radio. We're going to have a quick segment here, and then we'll get to Greg Scoris coming up at the bottom of the hour, KSL legal analyst, to react to this response from Jake Rzoff and his defense team. I've been asked this, and it's a tough answer, but when do you think BYU needs to clear the air with the QB situation, from the football team side?
Before they report for camp. I think they have some time. Take the 4th of July, take the next week. BYU football is primarily off for the month of July. It's a vacation time.
Yes.
It's recharge the batteries before a long, grueling season. I just want to know, and I'm not even necessarily saying it from my perspective because it doesn't really matter. It's not going to – what happens here isn't going to affect my personal life.
Yep.
But if I think about the coaches and I think about the team, because in late July, you and I, we're going down to Provo along with everyone else in this market that's in the media. And we're going to talk to Kalani and all the coaches and all the players. And it would be negligent to not ask about this situation if there was not any clarity as to what was happening. So to me, take that pain away from the players and the coaches who were not involved in this night. They did not make a bad decision like Jake did that night. Even though it was consensual, it broke the honor code. It was not a good decision. Is it fair to ask a captain, Chase Roberts? I presume he'll be voted a captain. He's one of the best players on the team. What was the offseason like? Who ran the practices, and how did you get together to run drills with the quarterbacks? Is that a fair question? Because I don't feel like that's fair to Chase or any other player. Because if it comes out and they say, hey, and look, I have no knowledge of what this is going to be, but let's just say Jake is suspended for 6 games for breaking the honor code and team rules. That could be what comes out. Who knows? We'll have to see. A lot of those questions are going to go away because we have resolution as to what's happening on the field, right?
Yeah.
So to me, whatever it is, there's got to be an explanation and a decision made before they report to camp so that the team can focus on football and not about everything else that's happening with what could have been their starting quarterback.
I agree. I will say even maybe sooner, before Big 12 Media Days, I think would be smart from the standpoint of you have local media plus national media. And we've seen at Big 12 Media Days, sometimes stories can get taken out of context. Remember 2 years ago when BYU was at Big 12 Media Day and one of the stations was wearing their uniforms? And then a TCU reporter said, oh my gosh, BYU wore their football uniforms to the Big 12 Media Day. No, that was the station that asked them to do that with Fox. And anyway, it's just you have –
or last year with Ollie Gordon in Oklahoma State.
Right, and that commanded the whole day. And then Gundy goes on and says – I can't remember the exact wording.
It was controversial.
Exactly.
It put Gundy in a bad spot.
And does Kalani want to go all day saying no comment? Because as of late, throughout this month, he's been asked in certain media interviews and like at the golf event and on our sibling station, the KSL Sports Zone, he just had no comment. So does he want to do that all day? That's not fun. That's Big 12 Media Day is a chance to highlight your program and just kind of talk ball. And that makes it a tough day, too, for the players that get selected for that. So I think that would be, to me, the spot. But
I like that.
Is that enough time between now and July 8th to clear the air on that? I don't know.
It is.
We'll see what happens. So coming up next, we'll have KSL legal analyst Greg Scoris to give us more insight of his reaction to this response from Jake Rzoff and his team. He's the host of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. We'll talk to him next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part 1 in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
12:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Linda Dell. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. In the NBA, the Dallas Mavericks holding an introductory press conference for their number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, 18-year-old Cooper Flagg from Duke University.
I'm coming in just trying to learn and trying to get better every single day. And I think if I can do that to the best of my ability, I think expectations and pressures that other people, will put on me and our team, that will kind of work itself out. So, I'm just trying to come in and be the best that I can be and just win at the highest level.
During his freshman year at Duke, Flagg won both ACC Player of the Year and Naismith Player of the Year. Sources tell ESPN that a fan who taunted a Major League Baseball player about the death of his mother has now been banned from all MLB ballparks. ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
Arizona Diamondbacks star Ketel Marte was at bat against the Chicago White Sox Tuesday night when he looked into the stands and started shaking his head. Moments later, he was in tears, his teammates and coach coming to comfort him. Diamondbacks manager Torey Lovello later saying a White Sox fan had taunted Marte about his mom, who was killed in a car crash in 2017.
Fans are nasty and fans go too far sometimes.
Lovello, who's known Marte for years, located the fan in the stands and called for security to eject him.
Coming up, Mother Nature's turning up the heat. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 12:32.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Traffic looks great. No crashes or delays on I-15, 215, and I-80. Sunny and 93 for the high today and tomorrow. Monday, sunny and 97. Tuesday, sunny and 99. Right now it's clear and 86. I'm Linda Dell, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Hour number 1 rolling along here on this Saturday, June 28th, KSL News Time, 12:35 p.m. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte here with you, and we're going out to the phone line and welcoming in the host of Inside Sources, Greg Scoris. He joins us now. Here's KSL legal analyst to discuss Jake Rzoff and his defense team's response to the civil lawsuit alleging sexual assault. Greg, welcome on into the show.
Hey, Mitch and Matt. It's nice to be with both you guys today.
Yeah, it's good to chat with you again, Greg. And just want to get your initial thoughts to the response from Jake Rzoff and his defense team on the allegations. What were your big picture thoughts on that response?
You know, it was much more disclosing than you're used to. And usually when you have a case like that you would expect the defense to say, look, I sorry, my dogs are going off here. You'd say, I deny that this occurred. It didn't occur. That's not what happened. But in this case, he admits to the location. He admits to the time. He admits to the person he was with. The only thing he doesn't admit to is the most critical part of this, which was the consent part. And he really did, his attorneys did quite a job of discounting what she said. And I have to go back to what I think Matt said at the last segment, which is you still got this honor code violation that you've got to deal with. And they addressed that. They admitted the conduct, which would be arguably misconduct under the honor code. But they kind of had to, because that gives them more credibility in the rest of their answer when they say, yes, I did this. And you know, he may have to take some hits for that. But I didn't do that. I didn't do anything that was non-consensual. And he even went through a lot of things that were quite compelling, I would say. For example, the allegations alleged to have occurred in November, and in January or February, they're texting one another, 2 months later in a really flirtatious way, which you would assume would be inconsistent with what you would expect from a person who is claiming that she's been sexually assaulted.
What is next in a situation like this?
Well, the civil suit's going. I can see after reading the answer why it didn't go criminally. I mean, I can see why the county attorney's office didn't file it, because if Rzoff's attorneys are telling the truth, and I have to take them at their word, that there was a report made, but she describes an entirely different individual, and like I say, this sort of flirty banter that happens later. So I would assume, and I'm not answering your question directly, but I would assume there's not going to be a criminal charge. The civil case will move forward. It took a huge hit from the plaintiff's perspective with this answer. And then, of course, you've got the internal honor code, team issues that they'll have to deal with. And hopefully those will be, taken into account. And if there's a sanction, there's a sanction. But you'd sure hate to see the kid booted off the team for something like this.
Talking with KSL legal analyst Greg Scoris. He's the host of Inside Sources weekdays here on KSL News Radio. And Greg, I wanted to ask you, too, within that response from Jake Rzoff and his team yesterday, they pointed out the location, focusing, saying it shouldn't be centered around Salt Lake and instead Provo. Is that significant at all in this, and why would that be something of a point of discussion from his team?
Well, you have this concept of venue, which is where should the case go? Some people think it's jurisdiction, but it's venue. What's the appropriate place? And given that he's in Utah County, given that the act occurred in Utah County, you would assume that that's where the case is ultimately going to end up. She claims that at that time she was a resident of Salt Lake County, but that's probably not enough. So my guess is that Rzoff's attorneys will get it moved into Utah County. Now, I haven't answered your question yet. The significance of that would be you may get a more friendly jury. You may get a less friendly jury. People that don't necessarily appreciate premarital sexual conduct. So it's a double-edged sword, but it looks from the answer as though Rzoff's attorneys are leaning toward having the case transferred to Provo and hopefully getting a more friendly, BYU-friendly audience or jury.
We're talking with Greg Scoris, KSL legal analyst and host of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. This, from what we know, Greg, this is a he said, she said situation. She alleged one thing, Jake said another thing happened. Based off your long legal history, what typically happens in a he said, she said civil lawsuit?
So everybody's going to be looking for corroboration. That is to say, if it is a he said, she said, and it is, you're exactly right. who can you corroborate? Whose story is more plausible based on the facts? And Rzoff saying, look, my statement is that it was consensual. Her statement is that it's not. So if you say to her, how can you prove it was not consensual? Well, did you get a rape test? Were there signs of trauma? Did you report it? And it seems like the answer to those questions is probably going to be no. He's saying it was consensual. Well, how do you prove that? Well, we had a continuing discussions months later. She reported it was a person that's clearly not me. She reported that it was somebody that she had a childhood friendship with. So I think both sides are going to be looking at how they can corroborate their version of the case. And Rzoff's admitted 2/3 of it, which is that it occurred and that it was the two of them and that it happened on the date, time, and place that she indicated. But he's saying it wasn't consensual. So the case is going to focus on that single word of consent and who can more appropriately and more accurately corroborate their version of what happened.
Greg, have you, in your experience, with defending individuals, have you experienced where maybe people years after a alleged incident maybe come into more money and then something pops up with them? And I bring that up because in Jake Rzoff's situation, their response yesterday that they emphasized that he's becoming maybe more of an NFL draft prospect potentially, and he's maybe captured a bigger spotlight and stage, and naturally comes with it more money. Have you had experience with that? And what is that something that's common, I guess, in these sort of civil lawsuits?
It's common in the sense that it helps Rzoff and his attorneys establish why she filed this. I mean, you're right. She doesn't file it when they're 4-7, and he's a good player but not a great player. She waits until they're 11-2, coming off a bowl win with Colorado. He's being talked about as future NFL. Boom! Suddenly she's in the game, and that really hurts her credibility. That really hurts it, and that's what these cases are all about. It's like you said a minute ago. Where does the case go from here? Who's telling the truth, and how can we prove who's telling the truth? So, the defense statement, the answer that was filed yesterday, can tell us a lot about where Rzoff and his attorneys were going, because they didn't have to put any of that in there. They could have said, no, it didn't happen. Denied. We deny it. But he said, not only do we deny it, but here's really what happened. That wasn't necessary. But they're sort of talking to you all. They're talking to the team. They're talking to the public. They're making a broader answer than they were required to do. But I think it was smart under the circumstances.
Why? Why do you think it was smart in these circumstances?
Because I think they had to. I mean, we're talking about it today. It's a big story. Yeah. And of course the story could be what happened. He's being accused of this serious crime. What really occurred here? And he's saying, you're right, I am. And here's what happened. My life's an open book. This situation between the two of us is an open book. He goes into some fairly graphic details about what they did, the sexual conduct, which he didn't have any obligation to do. But he's saying, I don't have anything to hide. Here's what happened, and here's how it happened, and here's why it happened, and here's what happened afterwards. And he's saying, I'm willing to put my soul out there. She's not even willing to give her name so far. And he's saying, I'm putting my story out. I'm putting everything I have out, and here's exactly what happened, and come at me. And I think that was the smart thing to do. And, I don't do these cases on a civil basis, but I was a prosecutor over sex crimes at the DA's office, and I've done a lot of defense work, and I've done a lot of victim advocacy work, sort of from the other end to this. But he's put on a very, very strong case.
What kind of toll does this take on an individual? I imagine you've, from your experience, just see how difficult this is for people on both sides. I'm curious your perspective on cases that you've been a part of and what kind of toll this takes on an individual.
Yeah, it's very hard on a victim to have to come forward with something like this because usually, and this case is very unusual, the victim will have to identify themselves, and they're out there and people know. It's also difficult on a defendant, on a suspect, because his reputation is out there and his life story and something very intimate about him is now out there. But it's out. And it's fairly clear that they came to him before they filed the lawsuit and said, hey, we can settle this for a fat chunk of money and save you the embarrassment and save you having this lawsuit filed and save KSL Radio from talking about you if you'll just write us a check. And he said no, and he admits that. He talks about that. So, yeah, it's embarrassing. It's problematic. But it's out of the bag now for Rzoff. He's been outed, and it's probably not going to get any worse for him, depending on what the team does or what the school does. But his story, what happened here, is now fully exposed, and he's admitted. He said what happened and described what happened and described how it happened, and has stood up and said, but it was clearly consensual, and here's how I can prove that, and stated how he can prove it.
He's Greg Scoris, host of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio, weekdays, and KSL legal analyst. Greg, you're the best. We appreciate you hopping on and sharing your expertise on this weekend, so we appreciate it.
You bet.
That's Greg Scoris here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll unpack some of Greg's thoughts and get more into this situation with Jake Rzoff and his response here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Attention RVers! In 57 years, Motorsportsland has never had a sale like this before. We've got over 100 new models coming in and our lots are already almost full. We've got to clear out inventory fast, so we've selected over 100 new travel trailers, fifth wheels, and toy haulers to sell to you at or below dealer cost. Like our 2024 Encore Venue off-road travel trailer, MSRP at $30,000, normally priced at $25,000, dealer cost at $22,400, and this week only priced to you for below $17,000 with amazing financing options. Or our 2024 28-foot Stealth toy hauler fifth wheel, MSRP at $99,330, normally priced at $83,500, this week only $67,743. Save more than ever before on your dream RV. But these deals are disappearing quick, so visit a Motorsportsland RV Center today.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
It's hot. That means now's the time to prep your lawn by applying Revive Organic Soil Treatment. Revive makes water go deep to the roots where grass needs it. Use Revive. It works.
If you love flowers and can't imagine a better time than strolling through fields of new and unique blooming varieties, you won't want to miss the Olson's Greenhouse Trial Garden, a stop on the Hidden Garden Tour this weekend only. Hi, it's Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and our family has been growing beautiful flowers and bedding plants for over 80 years. I always say the best part of my job is traveling the world to find new and unique flower varieties that Olson's Greenhouse can grow for you and your landscape. We bring these new varieties back to Nola Ray's garden, our trial garden and research area in Santaquin, Utah, where we make sure these new introductions will perform in our unique Utah climate. You won't want to miss a rare opportunity this weekend only when we open these normally private gardens to you as part of the Hidden Garden Tour. So join us for food trucks and flowers this weekend only at the Olson's Greenhouse Trial Gardens, a stop on the Utah Hidden Garden Tour. For more info, visit ogg.com or Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens and get your tickets at hiddengarden.org.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Welcome back in. It's Cougar Sports Saturday. We just had KSL legal analyst Greg Scoris and also
great insight.
New host on KSL News Radio of Inside Sources. You can listen to his show Monday through Friday every single week. Good stuff from Greg. Great just analysis and interpretation of stuff that you and I never even took a class on legal stuff in college. I don't know anything about this, so it was really interesting to get that breakdown. And I thought he brought up some really good points about why they went into so much detail. They're clearly painting a story in the event that if this goes the distance, that they can, because really, in a he said, she said, it's going to come down to whose story is more believable to a jury.
Yeah, Jake, as Greg pointed out, he let it all out there. He went open book. I mean, because really, you read the whole thing, it's like about 12 pages. It's pretty detailed, and he goes into everything and basically open booked everything. And again, it's just Jake's side of the story. There's her side, too, that was filed in May.
Yep.
So now, again, it becomes of
who can prove their story.
And the text thread is very interesting that happened January 30th to, I believe, February 1st, which the context, too, I was looking back on it, January 30th, 2024, I thought, why are they talking BYU and Utah football and making bets about the game? But I thought, oh, that's when the schedule was released for the 2024 season. I went back and looked at the timestamp. The Big 12 released the football schedule on that day, and it became – that was, of course, the first year BYU and Utah were in the Big 12, and it was a November 9th date. And so maybe that was what, set off the text, the alleged text from her to Jake. But it's a back-and-forth text thread, and it, does look like it's, as Jake put it, flirtatious. And, that's something that was very detailed, and we put that up on our KSLSports.com story and write-up. But, yeah, Jake – they went into great detail, him and his defense team, about this to clear Jake's name because, and I think at the end of the day, too, like if I was in Jake's shoes, I'd just want my name cleared, right. Because that's to be accused of that, that's intense stuff. But, it's so I understand where he'd be coming from to just let it all out there. But then with that, though, it
exposes a admittance of guilt when it comes to breaking the honor code.
And this is a very public matter. In the honor code, what we didn't touch on earlier is that pretty much since that Brandon Davies situation in 2011, everything's become more private.
Yes.
With the honor code. You're not going to...
Which I like.
Absolutely. Because you shouldn't put, in the media, I don't want to have to write about someone doing something that's not against the law or not against... that's being handled in a civil lawsuit. I'm not going to do stuff where people are being college students. I don't need to write about that. That's not that's between you and your faith-based individuals and your family, whatever.
And if you want to break the honor code, you have to live with that.
Yes, that's on you.
Yes.
And I think, typically that people who disregard the honor code at BYU, typically it plays out where they're probably not around. Portal's always available. Like it's more times than not, it's not going to typically work.
Yeah.
More times than not. Don't know that for sure, but just being around these programs enough where if you don't really embrace
it's unique at
BYU,
yes.
the values, it'll show up. Like you're probably not gonna succeed is what I'm getting at.
Yep.
You're not gonna have the success that you desire when you come to a place like BYU if you just totally disregard it. But they're young people, and so I definitely respect that it's more private now. But this is different because Jake is publicly admitting an honor code violation.
There's evidence from a honor code office perspective to say you broke the. This doesn't.
It's great detail.
It's not even a witch hunt anymore.
And it's also too not that this. I don't think the honor code factors in. if it's happening in season or not.
Right.
But it's also kind of magnified, I think, from this the football side of like this was a couple days before the Oklahoma State game. You are QB1. The program's with you, and this was you're breaking the honor code.
Yep.
It's, again that's his deal. And look, these are young people, and Jake's side of the story is. It's a tough deal, but it now opens the door for what you would think would be an honor code suspension. You would think.
You would think.
And then you go, what's the timeline of that suspension?
Well, if you look at there's fall camp that's available. So there is, and then there's any number of games. So the opener's Portland State.
How about this? I can't imagine. Well, I should say can't, because it has been done in the past, but it seems a bit much to say a year-long suspension.
Yeah, to be gone for a semester seems tough if he hasn't been proven guilty by a jury, which is unlikely to happen in this calendar year, from everything that we understand. So really, I think from a football perspective and his availability on the field, it comes down to the honor code, the university, the board of trustees, and what is an appropriate length of time to fit the violation of the honor code. Historically, it would have been a loss of a semester.
We did see that many a times. I mean, there were guys that their seasons were gone.
We don't need to name names, but people miss time. You probably know who they are if you're a big BYU fan. So that
and many significant players too.
Very significant players. So that's on the table. One game, you're missing Portland State. If it's more than one game, if you were to miss a 25% of the season, that would make you available for Colorado, but then it opens the door for a McKay Hillstead, a Bear Bachmeier, a Trayson Bourget. If they're playing great football, do you want to change that up after a couple of games? If you want to go longer, if you want to do half the season, what's Game 7 on the schedule?
It's Utah, I believe.
It's the rivalry game. It's homecoming, October 18th. That is Game 7. Do you want to make a quarterback change? And a lot of that would depend on the play of whoever was the starter. If, and it's an if at this point, if Jake were to miss time, how does that guy play? But I have a hard time seeing you wanting to make a quarterback change halfway through the year.
One thing that's, and again, I'm not trying to make any sort of light of the situation. This is a conversation focused on the football side of it, on the football field.
Right.
I do believe that if Jake is not the quarterback, there is a drop-off, because internally in the building, BYU coaches, particularly Aaron Roderick in particular, has stated he believes Jake Rzoff could be a top 5 quarterback nationally. Now, whether he can actually be that or not, still a lot to be seen. Right. Jake was nowhere close to that last year. Nowhere close.
He wasn't close to being a top 5 quarterback in the Big 12.
But in the building, he had advocates of people that believe that he could be a top 5
Well, you
QB
saw
nationally.
the glimpses. You saw the glimpses.
Yes.
In particular, in clutch moments. You think about that final drive against Oklahoma State.
And what I'm getting at is that if you do go to another quarterback, and this, again, should not factor into the decision of what you're doing if you're BYU as far as a potential suspension for Jake. Not just saying, but if this does happen where if he does get suspended because it's out there now, he's publicly admitted to violating the school's honor code. So naturally, you'd think there'd probably be some sort of suspension. There will be a drop-off. And I think you have to change your expectations of BYU football a little bit in 2025. I don't know if
Devil's advocate, though, Mitch, there's always a quarterback or two that has no hype, no expectations, and bursts onto the scene.
I agree.
Sam Levitt last year, no one thought he was going to do that.
But Sam Levitt was beating out Jaden Rashada when he was in that spring camp battle. There was buzz building in Tempe months prior. There's no
And
buzz
that's the hard
building.
part is you lost all of spring now if you were to go somewhere else.
And Bear Bachmeier was gaining buzz in Stanford, but that was with a different program, not your playbook. And the BYU playbook can be quick to learn and something that you can adapt to quickly, but it wasn't your playbook. So
let's turn the page to Ryder Lions.
Hey,
Huge
how about
announcement.
that?
We'll touch on another quarterback story, this one being a much more positive one on the other side.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. More than 1,000 flights have been canceled today as airlines recover from the severe storms from yesterday. That's from the FAA and FlightAware. Atlanta is seeing the biggest disruptions. Delta Airlines, which has a major hub at Atlanta, is experiencing the most significant impact. The FBI says a cyber criminal hacking group is targeting airlines. ABC's Faith Abube.
Think about all the information that the airlines have on us, our birth dates, our social security number, all of that information. And now the FBI is saying this group called Scattered Spider is using social engineering to access their systems through some of their vendors or through their airlines themselves. And they're going in there and stealing the sensitive information that these airlines and the vendors have. And so the FBI is really sending out the warning, trying to tell these airlines to tighten their cybersecurity and also report these attacks when they happen really quickly.
Hundreds attending a funeral for state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband in Minneapolis. They were gunned down recently in a shooting spree targeting public officials. Eulogy by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
I think all of you know Melissa was an extraordinary legislator, and Mark was her proudest supporter.
Walz isn't just speaking, he was also a pallbearer. He's also sitting right there in the front. We know former President Biden is there. He paid his respects, and many, many people have visited the two lying in state at the Minnesota State Capitol.
ABC's Zorin Shah. The Senate's in session now for debate and then maybe a procedural vote on the big Trump tax and budget bill. Senator John Cornyn, Texas Republican.
One of the other things that's in this bill that's so important, money to build more infrastructure or the wall, more money to hire Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents.
Some Republicans are not on board with proposed cuts in Medicaid. Other Republicans say some states will get more Medicaid money to help disabled, children, and pregnant women. You're listening to ABC News.
Not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
103 at KSL News Radio. I'm Linda Dell. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. Severe weather could delay some Major League Baseball games today. ABC News meteorologist Greg Dutra.
Heavy rainfall across the South last night. Some of these thunderstorms that delayed the Braves game. Now, they probably wish it was canceled because they lost 13-0. But there was some hail with these storms, too, and it did produce some gusty winds. Now, there's another storm chance today across the Southeast, and that is going to stretch all the way up to New York. The good news is that they'll be isolated to widely scattered, so if you get a storm, it's only going to last for about 45 minutes max as the heat builds into next week.
Cincinnati Reds slugger Spencer Steer talks about hitting 3 home runs in their 8-1 win over the San Diego Padres yesterday.
Yeah, with the score being 8-0 and it being the 8th inning, I can say for the first time in my life I didn't want to walk. I was trying to get a good pitch to hit and give myself a chance to hit a 4th because you never know how many opportunities you'll get at that. And that was a fun at bat, especially with the score being what it was, having a nice cushion. I was kind of going for it there.
The two teams play again today at Cincinnati in about an hour and tomorrow morning at 11:40. Coming up, a fiery forecast. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 104.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. In Salt Lake County, we have a crash on northbound I-15 at 4500 South. Now, traffic is moving slowly. It doesn't look like you'll be held up too much. Normal speeds should resume in the next several minutes. Sunny and 93 for the high today and tomorrow. Monday, sunny and 97. On Tuesday, sunny and 99. Let's hope we don't see any triple digits on Tuesday. Right now it's clear on 87. I'm Linda Dell, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete and another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports. KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back in. It's hour number 2 of Cougar Sports Saturday. Hour number 1 was a full-fledged breakdown of the breaking news from last night. There's a story up. Mitch put up a story on KSLSports.com. BYU quarterback Jake Rzoff denies sexual assault allegations in response to the civil lawsuit. We had Greg Scoris, legal analyst and host of Inside Sources, to break it down. If you want to get that breakdown of that breaking news from last night, check out our podcast feed, Cougar Sports Saturday. Right now, though, Mitch, let's turn the page to a lighter, more fun story that had Cougar Nation rocking earlier in the week. Were you on pins and needles Tuesday morning?
I was very intrigued to see where the announcement of Ryder Lions would go, and it was in favor of BYU.
What does the future look like for you, Ryder? Where will you be playing football next?
I mean, for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be going to Brigham Young University.
Okay, go Cougs! Hey, Ryder. Congratulations, Ryder Lions, heading over there to beautiful Utah with BYU.
Yes, sir.
Ryder Lions announces his commitment to BYU on the Pat McAfee show. For the record, I thought Pat McAfee did a really good job of conducting the interview and being...
I liked it a lot more than the First Take one.
Yes. But AJ, I thought you were going to North Carolina. The North Carolina Duke rivalry has no pull on recruiting decisions, Stephen A. Smith. But I digress. No, I love Stephen A. I love Pat McAfee. So that was pretty cool to see Ryder Lions make that commitment. But monster edition, Matt.
You're underselling it, Mitch. I think it's the most significant BYU football commitment ever.
I agree.
Really?
I agree, because the thing is that, and I agree with you from this standpoint, this is a 5-star commitment in the era where BYU has access, where they can actually do something big with this prospect. You know, back in the day when they got Ben Olsen, Ofa Moetau, Jake Heaps,
Jacob Conover,
it was a feeling of, you know, maybe you could do something big, but you always were on a second tier to others. This edition feels like anything is possible for BYU football, and it broke through and made BYU viewed as a player on the national recruiting scene, and he's the type of guy that has a lot of clout. He's got a lot of aura, as the kids will say. He's the aura king. He's aura maxing, as
I'd
they
say so. When you drop a 3-hour documentary on YouTube, you got
this guy is aura, man, and I love it. It's massive, and it just says that BYU is a real big player, not only in basketball but football too.
I agree with all of that. I think for me, the reason I think it's the biggest football commitment in the history of the program, a long, successful history that's seen a lot of great players. This commitment by no means, he's not going to have his jersey retired because he committed to BYU, right? He's still got to produce on the field.
Absolutely.
But to me, the reason it is the biggest commitment in the history of the football program is that it shows that BYU can compete nationally, to your point, but not by pulling the levers they've pulled in the past. Because before you would say, well, he was a member of the faith and he picked you because at the end of the day, he just wants to be amongst his peers, people that he shares a common faith with. This to me was squarely, we went up against Oregon, we competed in NIL, and we sold the vision to Ryder of how we're going to get you to the league.
Yep.
It is a modern approach to recruiting to where BYU did not have to use the cards that make them unique. And I still think they should. They should absolutely play those cards to high-profile recruits that either have a family relationship to BYU or if they are members of the faith. They absolutely should. But can you, at the highest level, go toe-to-toe with an Oregon, with a USC, with an Ohio State, with a Michigan, with all of these big programs, and sell yourself as a legitimate football program? Because Ryder is not coming to BYU just to be the quarterback of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints football program. No way. And I think he said as much in multiple interviews, that he wants to compete at a high level and he wants to get to the league. And BYU, for the first time in my life, went toe-to-toe saying, we're a legitimate program, we can get you to the league, and we can pay you the going rate for your skill set. And they used a modern approach in recruiting to secure a 5-star quarterback. That's never happened before, Mitch. It's never happened before, and it happened this week with Ryder Lions.
It's in the internet era, in the 21st century, absolutely. You're spot on. I mean, you could go back in the day when Jim McMahon picked BYU over like Notre Dame and UNLV. He was big time. I mean, if star rankings were a big thing back then, he's probably a 5-star.
Right.
You know, like so. In BYU, but they had incredible clout. Like BYU would go into California in the past, in the 90s and the 80s, and go get the number one QBs. They'd be in the mix for heralded quarterbacks up and down the West Coast nationally because they were the quarterback factory. This also is a sign that BYU, Kalani talks about it, but there hasn't been the consistent action on the recruiting trail to back it up. You're going to be in the quarterback business. I think it was Norm Chow who said, in the greatest moments in BYU football history video, that VHS tape.
Yes.
He was talking about, what quarter was it? Was it Ty Detmer, I think? I think it was Ty Detmer.
I think it was Ty.
Where he goes, we're back in the quarterback business. It's like BYU's back in the quarterback business getting Ryder Lions. You bring up the NIL piece. So Ryder on his YouTube, well, not his YouTube, but Nick in the Cut YouTube, give proper credit, he dropped a Ryder Lions documentary, 3.5 hours, part 2. It's good stuff, man. But Ryder Lions shared his thoughts on NIL, and I thought it was interesting commentary. This is Ryder Lions.
It is true. If I talk about my money, or even if I go to a school that is known to have money, people are going to say you're chasing money, which is just not the case. I mean, nobody sees how I get recruited besides me. Nobody sees how this coach is calling me every single day, making me a priority, but as soon as I commit there, I was chasing money. It's just kind of silly because, yes, the money matters a lot, of course. I mean, everyone wants to get paid. Like, why is it bad that college athletes want to get paid? I mean, we're a full-time job. School and then pretty much football every single day, 8-9 hours a day for 4 years. And the money that people make to bring to the school, but that's besides the point. I think about why people don't want to talk about it is because of what I said. You get bashed. People label you as chasing money, and that's just, nobody wants that. Let's just be serious. If I'm a dentist and I own, or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm in this business and I'm making X amount of money, and they say I can go to this business over here and I could have the same amount of customers. I could work with pretty much similar people, and I could be in a cooler area, whatever, and I'm gonna make $200,000 more a year. I think 99% of people are doing that. So why, when a college athlete makes $1 million, which is life-changing money, change my kids, help my whole family, stop my parents from working, stuff like that. Like, a lot of people come from nothing. So if I'm gonna take advantage of all this money I can make, I'm going to, you know what I mean?
That was Ryder Lions in his documentary. Again, the courtesy was YouTube, Nick in the Cut. It was the YouTube page. Really good stuff. But just insightful commentary. I thought that was interesting because naturally the national narrative, not as big as the A.J. DeBonsa commitment, where a guy from New York says, AJ's making $7 million, and it's instantly become fact now. It's like, oh, it's just $7 million. But everyone's just saying BYU's dropping bags. Well, you've got to drop a bag to get the 5-star quarterback. No question, you've got to have a bag. But it's, to your point, Matt, of just having it all that Ryder Lions looked at and said, I am a member of the church. They also know how to handle return missionaries probably better than anyone because they do it at a higher volume than anyone. They got a good strength and conditioning staff. They got a good nutrition team. They also have the bag. It's a place that my parents, I have strong connections to this university. I like how they've prioritized me since I was an 8th grader. They believed in Ryder Lions since he was a kid. And you'll hear coming up from his high school head coach, Paul Doherty, here at the bottom of the hour. Now, Ryder Lions did not take the starting quarterback spot until his sophomore year. It wasn't like he's been this prodigy at 8th, 9th grade where he was the starter for his varsity high school team from the beginning. But BYU believed in him at the beginning and made him a priority, and they have prioritized him as their number one guy in the 2026 cycle. And that paired up with everything else, BYU gets him, and it's a massive commitment for this program.
And it's nice, too, to be able to put to bed the narrative that A-Rod couldn't secure a high-profile recruit.
He needed this one.
Yeah.
This was as must of a get for A-Rod, Kalani, this entire program. You had to get Ryder Lions. This was as must of a get as you needed, and they got it done.
And these are the type of kids, too. He's not the first one in the 2026 class. I think Brock Harris might be the first. But can you consistently, and that's the key going forward now, is the consistent part. But can you land these kids that can play anywhere they want to play? But they have connections to your university. It's for lack of a better term, an easy recruitment. Can you land those kids? They, more times than not, failed to do so in the independent era. And I think that held them back. If they can continue to secure the Ryder Lions of the world, the Brock Harrises of the world, this, in my opinion, this started last year when Reiner Swanson, that was a big commit at tight end. Can you consistently get these guys? Austin Pay, highly recruited dude who's on a mission now, but in offensive lineman. You keep getting these dudes, and you look at this Big 12, there is an enormous opportunity here. To me, someone, and Kenny Dillingham talked about this earlier a couple weeks ago on social media. I can't remember who or where this came about. Someone can become Clemson in the Big 12. Someone can take it. There is an opening there. Who is it going to be? And it very well could be BYU. And whoever it is, just like Clemson did for a long time in the ACC, you could be seeing yourself in the playoff every single season. That is an enormous opportunity because it's a competitive league, Mitch, but it's a winnable league. And if you can out-recruit and level up above everyone else, you could be a perennial power in the Big 12.
Let's dive more into this recruitment of Ryder Lions and what it means for BYU football, the future, and also the quarterback position at large, looking long-term for BYU football here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing for a summer sale, starting at $20 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $20 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
The 2025 Ute Stampede Rodeo and Extreme Bowls in Nephi, Utah. On July 9th, it's a wild Wednesday in Nephi. As 40 of the best bull riders in the PRCA will be trading big dollar blows with bulls from Flying U, Diamond G, and Andrews Pro Rodeo. It's your chance to come and witness the hardest hitting and most exciting sport in the PRCA. The Cowboys will be letting it all loose to grab their share of $35,000 and a spot at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. Get tickets at UtestampedeRodeo.com or 435-623-5608.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. In celebration of over 32 years of serving humans in Utah with their computer and tech needs, we've slashed our prices. And these are the new 2025 models. Here's the deal. You can get our new 2025 S1 desktop with a blazing Ryzen 5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing fast storage on this promotion. We also have our new 2025 SM3 laptop with the Intel i5 processor, 16 gigs, and over a terabyte of storage for $999. You can take one home today for $999. And you also get the peace of mind of our lifetime service warranty. We also have 12 months special financing available, and they start as low as $29 a month. But hurry in because supplies are limited. Because at PC Laptops, we love you. PCLaptops.com. Take home a blazing fast 2025 model desktop or laptop for $999 at PCLaptops.com.
Welcome back in. Cougar Sports Saturday. We're reacting to the landmark recruitment of Ryder Lions that happened Tuesday morning on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN. He will be coming to BYU. He'll be doing a mission first, and then he'll be at BYU. And the future of the quarterback room, Mitch, has never looked brighter for BYU than it does today. Not only because of Ryder Lions, but is Bear Bachmeier being slept on a little bit? Like, he was a 4-star quarterback.
Yeah,
They've got high-end talent in the room right now.
This is what BYU's quarterback unit should always be. It should always be stocked with big-time talent. And then the challenge will be to retain and make sure to get everyone on board with everything that goes on. Can there be a world where it's, I always bring this up, but there was once upon a time where Mark Wilson and Jim McMahon are battling, and then Jim McMahon's redshirting a season to let Mark Wilson do his thing. That's the level. BYU knows great quarterback play. And great quarterback play is what should be the standard at BYU football. It should be. And Ryder Lions, Bear Bachmeier, they've got that potential to do that. BYU experienced a great quarterback room just a few years ago, too. They had Jaron Hall. They had Zach Wilson. They had Baylor Romney. That to me is what BYU's quarterback unit should be. And then it'll just become the challenge of making sure to retain everyone. But Ryder Lions' talent, whenever he matriculates in and the expectations around 2027, you give him every chance to have an opportunity to compete and win that job. That's what you got to do. He's that type of talent that he warrants the chance.
Even if the year before Bear Bachmeier throws for 35 TDs and 5 INTs.
There's got to be, maybe some exceptions. Like if Bear just sets the world on fire, then we'll cross that bridge down the road. But as of right now, I think Ryder Lions should command every opportunity to go compete and win the job his first year because he is that gifted of a football player, dual threat. And I think that's just putting it lightly because I think he can do so many different things. The way that he can throw the ball downfield on the run, he just got an elite skill set that way. And he's got good size, too, for being a high school senior. He's already 18 years old. He just turned 18 a couple weeks ago this month. And I just think he's got a lot of ability, Matt, to be something pretty special for BYU. And that's exciting, too. And I think one of the underrated aspects to his commitment as well that a lot of people are sleeping on, because you just don't think of it as on the outside if you're a fan and following the sport, but think about the ESPN FPI, a ranking that's factored into advanced metrics, the College Football Playoff Committee, things like that. The fine print, when you put together the preseason rankings for the FPI, they factor in recruiting rankings. And BYU is always pretty low because, well, the last 4 or 5 cycles, they've been anywhere from about 50 to 70. You get to this threshold where you're now,
top 30,
top 25 recruiting classes year after year, and you got to keep stringing it together. This should be the starting point, and you build on it. But then you're going into a season where you get the cliche, well, they just look good getting off the bus. That's half the battle with the SEC. They just look the part getting off the bus. Well, it's like ASU and Texas played together, and that looked pretty equal. But no one gave ASU any respect because, well, they're a bunch of 3-stars, and Texas are the 5-stars.
Yep.
So this helps also the narrative because we know in college football, narratives almost become reality in this sport.
Yep.
And when you get 5-stars and high-end 4-stars like Brock Harris, like Botmoli Talo, who you beat out the likes of Oregon, Georgia, Michigan, in the case of Brock Harris, you're going to just naturally, for people that don't maybe watch as much of your games, they're just going to look at the stars and go, well, this team looks good getting off the bus.
What do you think the high end is now for this recruiting class ranking? There's still a long way to go, but with Ryder Lions, Brock Harris in the fold, where can they get to?
I think top 20. It could be in the cards. We're going to see if they can get Jax Tanner, the offensive lineman from Idaho, who's got Oregon, Tennessee, Michigan. You got Taui Akana, an overtime elite teammate of Ryder Lions, wide receiver who was on that official visit with Ryder, doing the TikTok dances inside the LES stadium. There's a lot of good football players that BYU is still going to be in the mix for, and I'm sure they'll leave a few spots open for the winter time to kind of have some wiggle room for guys that maybe slip through the cracks and become an opportunity for BYU and want to team up with guys like Ryder. So I think this could be a top 20 class potentially on the high end, maybe on the back end of the top 25, but this has a chance to be a really nationally recognized class. It already is when you have a 5-star QB, but it could reflect that in the rankings, and that'd be the best class by a mile in the Kalani Sitake era.
Yeah, which is it's now just incumbent upon Kalani and staff to keep winning.
This was just a huge get, though, Matt, and the resources that BYU put into this was an all-hands-on-deck effort. We were at spring football back in March. Ryder, when he visited, I saw him in the student-athlete building. He's there with Dave George, the GM, getting ushered off in the blacked out GMC, almost like he was a president. He's got the tinted windows. This was a big time deal. You get a 5-star QB, it takes big time commitment, alignment, and resources to make it happen. They got it done.
Let's take a break. News, traffic, and weather coming your way, and we'll keep talking BYU sports on the other side.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
GoPave Utah has 5-star reviews for asphalt, concrete, paving, and striping repairs. Schedule a free consultation today. GoPaveUtah.com.
1:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Linda Dell. KSL's top local story this hour. KSL Sports, the draft pick for the Jazz, is set to report for play today after an unusual draft process. So what's going on with Ace Bailey? Jazz insider Ben Anderson says while there was some initial concern that he didn't want to be in Utah, some of this was due to his reported agent.
It's even strange because he's not technically an NBA agent, so he's just the player's manager. He can't even negotiate his rookie contract. So Ace Bailey has since gone out and gotten another agency that's actually representing him that's going to work this out with the Jazz, and they have been very forward that Ace is excited to be in Utah. They use the term thrilled to be drafted by the Jazz.
Ben says Bailey is expected to join a press conference tomorrow. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Cincinnati Reds pitcher Nick Martinez, after throwing 8 innings and giving up just 1 hit with 6 strikeouts against the San Diego Padres yesterday.
Demons came in pretty early there. Like the 4th, I saw no hits. I was like, oh, let's keep going. Try to talk to yourself about just one pitch at a time, executing whatever Steve-O calls. And again, Steve-O did a great job mixing it up, communicating in the dugout, and getting some close calls for me behind there.
The two teams playing again this afternoon and tomorrow morning at Cincinnati. In pro tennis, Coco Gauff addresses the drama with Aryna Sabalenka before Wimbledon matches begin today.
I felt like before that we got along pretty well anyways before all that happened. So it wasn't very hard to, accept that apology. And, yeah, I understand things weren't, I guess, translated as how she meant it to be. And she understood that, and I understood that's not what she meant.
Coco says criticism of Sabalenka's comments went too far. Coming up, a great day to lounge by the pool. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 1:33.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part 1 in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result, Connecticut delivers perfectly soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Traffic looks great, no crashes or delays on I-15, 215, and I-80. Sunny and 93 for the high today and tomorrow. Monday, sunny and 97. On Tuesday, it'll be sunny and 99. Right now it's clear and 88. I'm Linda Dell, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports. KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. I love the bit that BYU fans have been putting out lately since the Ryder Lions commitment. They've got a tiger, a bear, and now a lion. I saw that graphic from Royal Blue Collective. It's like, that's tough, as the kids say. That's a tough shirt. Anyway, it's exciting times for BYU football on the recruiting trail. And if you missed any part of the program so far in the discussion about Ryder Lions, you can go to our podcast feed. Cougar Sports Saturday on the KSL Sports app, KSL News Radio app, and wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. It's always available. Leave that 5-star rating and review. But right now, it's time for the Top 5.
The Cougar Sports Saturday Top 5. Top 5. Mitch and Matt clash in a weekly battle of BYU sports knowledge. Here's the Top 5.
It's a battle of wits. It's a battle of which of our parents raised us better. No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
It's the battle of how obsessed we were as children with BYU athletics. What information have we retained over the years? It's the Top 5. Producer Nate Slack comes up with a list. Could be factual, could be preferential. And me and Mitch, we just use our deep and filled knowledge of BYU sports that doesn't serve us all that well, but other than here on Cougar Sports Saturday. And we battle. First to get 3 correct answers is the winner. And we have gone back and forth over the years.
And
Nate?
You guys are tied up.
Oh, that's juicy.
For the first time since we were 0-0, you guys are tied up. So this was a few weeks ago, but Matt did win last game, and we're tied up at 33-33. I do have one win. I just want to sneak that in there. We'll see if I can get a second one today. But I figured since we've got some draft talk with the NBA and the NHL drafts this past week, we'd pivot a little bit to the NFL draft. So we'll touch on this in Cougar Tales. But Chase Roberts was listed as the 8th highest draftable receiver, according to PFF, in the next year's NFL draft. And I saw a list earlier this week of the 5 P4 programs in the West that had the most draft picks over the last 5 years. So it's a pretty recent list since 2020. The last 5 drafts, the 5 P4 teams in the West with the most draft
How
picks.
do you define the West? Is that an appropriate question?
We'll say west of
Mississippi River?
West of the Mississippi River. Yeah. You guys will catch on.
Huh.
BYU's not in the top 5. I'll put that out there. They're close. They're actually number 6.
Wow, really? In the last 5 years? Because
they're tied for number
2020,
6.
they had that big boom. A lot of 7th rounders. Interesting.
Then Algier, and then they had Batty didn't get drafted. Jaren Hall got drafted. But they're number 6, so there's a little hint. We're going to get started with Mitch today.
So we're guessing the top 5 programs produced out West to produce NFL draft picks.
Over the last 5 drafts.
And BYU 6th. They're knocking on the door of...
Let's go with USC.
Yeah, USC number 2 on the list. They have 22 draft picks. Just for reference, BYU has 10. So it feels like BYU's had quite a few. Like Matt mentioned, in 2020 they had 6 guys drafted.
5 or 6.
5 or 6. And so the fact that USC has 22 in the last 5 years is pretty crazy.
I can't remember what year it was. there was some talking point. I can't remember. It might have been early in the Bronco years, but BYU was, I think, close to USC, like second most at that time out west with USC. But yeah, USC's been doing it for a long time. I don't know if they've got the same clout as they once did.
No, they haven't come close to sniffing that Pete Carroll era.
I thought when they had Lincoln Riley, I remember being at the Long Beach airport the day after the BYU USC game, and that came down, that news of Lincoln Riley. I thought, okay, Trojans are back. They're going to be Pete Carroll USC again, and it's just been meh. It's been a lot of mid.
Going
for
to
USC.
the Big Ten is a mistake for USC. They're
but
middle of the road.
It was a good move for the Big 12.
Yes.
Because the Big 12 benefited from that.
For sure. Let's go with the team that BYU just beat for the services of Ryder Lions, the Oregon Ducks.
Number 1 on the list with 30 draft picks over the last 5 years.
Man.
And I wanted to touch on that, too, because that's pretty crazy. BYU basically came down to BYU and Oregon for Ryder Lions. But BYU's beat out Oregon for quite a few recruits, even just this past recruiting class. So you've got
Bot Molitalo,
and McKay Madsen.
Alai Kalani Ovalu.
Yep.
And then also Austin Pay. You've got guys that BYU, they're beating Oregon. Going blow for blow with the Oregon Ducks, and now they're going to try to get Jax Tanner, who will decide sometime in July after his brother returns home from his mission. Gage Tanner, who's expected to be a BYU Cougar, that's an isolated deal. Jax Tanner's going to make his own decision, but
he has another brother who plays college football, right? Is it? I think there's another Tanner brother at Boise State.
I believe so. Yes, I think you're right. Linebacker, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, BYU could have another shot to take down the Ducks, who it's a great tidbit. I mean, they've been producing the most picks, and look, Oregon's a national power. You know, they have become a powerhouse in the last 2 decades. So for BYU to beat the Oregons, the USC, who were just perceived as the national favorites for Ryder Lions throughout this entire recruitment, speaks to how BYU operated in a very almost stealth-like mode where people just thought, oh, he's just putting them as a token school because he's LDS. No, like they were a big player from the get-go, and they took down 2 of the programs that out west produced the biggest NFL turnouts in the recent years and probably in the last 2 decades as well.
Yeah. Ty Tanner is the other brother.
Okay.
Ty Tanner.
Gotcha.
So I would say the 2 easiest answers are off the board, Oregon and USC. This is where it gets a little more difficult. And back to Mitch.
Let's go with UCLA.
That one surprised me. So there was 19 draft picks for UCLA in the last 5 years. And I don't think of UCLA as being a NFL hotbed, but I guess they are.
I don't either, but there's something about LA, and they've always had good talent. There was a little bit of a dip with Chip Kelly where they were almost recruiting at a lower level than BYU, at least by the recruiting rankings, and it's no surprise Chip just didn't work out there. But you know, UCLA is just in an area code where you don't have to go far to get good talent. Now, I think California is taking a step back in terms of the high-level prospects year after year. It's probably other states in the country. You go to the Southeast, but still, that area code just naturally, you've got good football talent. And UCLA, if you can hit on some of them, you're going to have guys that can get drafted. I think they had a guy this past year in the NFL draft who was, I think, once a walk-on. He became like a second-round freak of a prospect, linebacker, I believe. Can't remember his name, but yeah, UCLA
like
still.
Lautu or something like that, or am I thinking of someone else?
I can't remember who it was, but UCLA's just had some freaky players still, despite maybe what's been a very mediocre program. Honestly, I mean, has UCLA done anything? I feel like the last time BYU played UCLA was 2015 with Rosen. That's the last time when UCLA was kind of relevant nationally with Mora. Ever since then, it's just been afterthought. 6-6, 7-5 football.
They should bring Mora back.
He's doing okay at UCLA, but I think Deshaun Foster will probably get it going at UCLA. He's an alum. I mean, he had a poor start where he said his awkward intro at the Big Ten Media Days last year, but I think he'll get it going there. And they got Nico now, too. Nico Iamaleava. So we'll see if he can get him into an NFL quarterback going forward in the future, too.
Matt, you got to stay alive. Down
I was
2-1.
just thinking about this team. So, in the honor of Jax Tanner's brother, Ty Tanner, the Boise State Broncos.
Not in the top 11.
I think I got the win.
Well, they're
here.
also not really P4, so.
think I got the win here. Utah.
Wow.
Oh!
Utah is tied with BYU for 6th with 10.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Since 2020.
Yeah, since 2020.
This doesn't feel right because they're a mess, but how about the Stanford Cardinal?
Yeah, surprising. So that's another school that BYU's kind of gone back and forth with for some recruits over the last few years. But I was also surprised to see that they had 3 more draft picks than BYU.
Where are they in the list?
They're number 5 with 13.
Number 4 is up in the air?
Number 3 is up in the air. So 4 was UCLA, 2 USC, number 1 Oregon. We're looking for number 3.
Let's go with they had to have had a huge class in the 2024 draft cycle on the heels of a national championship game appearance, Washington.
Nice.
Washington.
Yes.
Yep, that Washington, because they had Coach Pete. Well, I don't think Coach Pete was there in 2020. They had Jimmy Lake, who was a total bust. And now they've got Jed Fish. Kalen DeBoer.
Was it Kalen DeBoer?
Well, they had
he was there for when they went up against Texas.
I'm saying like just timeline, because I think Coach Pete was. I can't remember when he left. Chris Peterson, and then they had Jimmy Lake, who was a bust.
Yeah.
Then it was Kalen DeBoer, who was awesome, and he shouldn't have left Washington.
No.
Like Washington, to me, in the tier of programs, great brands out west. I look at USC. I think UCLA's up there too. Washington, to me, has got a greater historical brand than Oregon. But Oregon's kind of passed them by in like the 21st century. Washington's a really good program. DeBoer leaves, and now they've got Jed Fish. But they had a huge class, I think, in 2024 where they had
with Roma Dunze and
Penix. He goes to the Falcons at like 8, and that shocked everyone. But I think they had 8 guys. So I thought, okay, that's got to be the spot, even though they outside of that cycle, they didn't have as many. What was their final number on Washington?
Washington had 19, so they were tied with UCLA for 3rd.
Wow.
You bring up Chris Peterson, though, just real quick. Are you guys surprised, too, that he's not coaching anywhere? He just kind of disappeared. He obviously kills it at Boise State. He goes to Washington, and he
I'm
does
not
well
surprised.
at Washington, and he's
He hated what has become of college football.
Yeah.
So he did not want to do.
He was pretty public, too, with his burnout. Yep. With I think it was Bruce Feldman with The Athletic. He was pretty candid about he just got straight up burned out. Now he's on Fox. I enjoy his commentary.
I think he's great.
Yeah,
Fox has some great talent.
He was on the lead into that BYU Arizona game back in October, and then shortly after his commentary, it was Gus Johnson, where a wise man once said, "This is the place." I love Gus Johnson. Any way I can work in a Gus Johnson reference, I'm doing it. America, this is how we do. And this is how I do, getting that lead in the top 5. Let's go.
That must have felt good.
Maintaining that.
Must have felt good. Good for you, Mitch. Good.
Yeah, I had my Game 6 slip up like the Thunder. Where it's like, hey, I got blown out. Got to recoup. Got to bounce back. Matt goes down Halliburton style, and I'm like, I took off.
That's disrespectful. Don't reference an Achilles tear like that. Unbelievable.
Well, I'm saying you had to you were playing great.
Yes.
But then you just kind of slipped up a little bit. I mean, it took away. I'm not viewing it as an asterisk though. This is a win, and I'm locking it in. Anyway,
well done. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll talk some more BYU football.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. It is time for our annual spring clearance sale at Arctic Spas. Tons of hot tubs, swim spas, all-weather pools, saunas, and cold tubs all on sale at up to $7,500 off. Yes, up to $7,500 off. Just in time for the summer fun to begin. Plus, we have a few models left over from last year, like an Arctic Spa Polaris, a 7-foot by 7-foot with 40 massaging jets, 2 pumps, ozone water purification, UV water purification, multicolored LED lights, and a waterfall, now discounted to $89.95. Swim spas starting out at $19,995. This brings a pool to your backyard all year long, but especially for the family fun this summer. Comfort and convenience is on sale with our automated saltwater system. Or save even more with almost new refurbished Arctic Spas from years past. Start out online at arcticspasutah.com to pick out your favorite spa. Then stop by one of our 3 Arctic Spa stores covering all of Utah: Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owed the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Well, here we are. It's officially moving season, a time filled with hours of packing, unpacking, and so much bubble wrap. But the first thing you should do when moving into your new home is make sure that the Wi-Fi is booming with Xfinity. It's super quick and easy to set up. Then, boom! You'll have your new home hooked up with the ultimate Wi-Fi experience faster than the time it takes to parallel park a moving truck. Then you'll be back online with the most reliable Wi-Fi with the best-in-class equipment from Xfinity, so you can just kick back, relax, and stream your favorite movies and TV shows while somebody else deals with those boxes. Because with Xfinity, the only thing you'll have to worry about is remembering where you packed the remote. Make the right and easy move with Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com/move. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi claim based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report August 2024. Go to xfinity.com/move.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jane has 150,000 miles on her truck, and she's proud of that. Jane's secret? AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help her find the right parts. Jane's brother Josh only cares that his car starts and goes, but when it doesn't, he also goes to AutoZone, where friendly AutoZoners help with free services. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
Attention passengers, we've reached 10,000 feet and internet is now available for purchase.
I just paid hundreds for this flight, and you can't even throw in internet? I'll just take the free pretzels.
Sorry, but I do have snack boxes for sale.
I'm just gonna sleep.
In that case, we are selling pillows and blankets as well.
I'll just breathe. That's free, right?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Is your lawn ready for hot temperatures? Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment for protection your lawn needs now to stay lush and green. Save water and money with Revive. Spread it, spray it. Use Revive now. It works.
Busy week, Mitch. We had Ryder Lions. We had the response from Jake Rzoff, which is up on KSLSports.com, and we discussed that at length in hour number 1. There's also the NBA draft, which had a significant BYU storyline. Yegor Demin was drafted high. He ended up being a high lottery pick, number 8, taken by the Brooklyn Nets. What'd you think of that pick?
I think it's a spot where Yegor can play immediately. I just have a lot of concern about the Brooklyn Nets franchise.
Yep.
It's just not a winning franchise. At what point, Matt, can a BYU guy go to, and I just bring this up because I think people listening will just naturally think of them as successful, but they've dabbled in the lottery, including this year. The Spurs, where they have success, even when they have dip years, it's like they will bounce back.
Yep.
The Thunder, who had the 15th pick. They're the defending champs. They've had dip years, but it's like they got structure. I don't know if I trust the Nets to be a place that will be successful for Yegor, but I do believe, though, Matt, that it's a franchise that believes in Yegor.
Yes.
You know, when it was the Baylor game, VJ Edgecombe, Yegor, big-time game where tons of scouts were in Provo. And at that point, the teams that were most interested in Yegor to that point of the season, that was late January, I believe, it was the Jazz, easy because quick drive down south, and the Brooklyn Nets. Like we were hearing from around BYU that, you know, Brooklyn Nets personnel were coming to games. We were seeing that at games. They were definitely interested. So when the 8th pick came up, that felt like the moment where it's going to be Yegor Demin territory from 8 to 21, anywhere in there, Yegor's going to go off the board, and the Nets just got it done early, and he goes number 8. So I love that BYU produces a top 10 pick. Yegor's stock didn't plummet by going a year to BYU. That's a good thing. But I just, long-term for Yegor, it's a team that needs a bit of everything, and that's why they kept 5 first-round picks. And maybe I'm just having flashbacks to Zach Wilson, but New York, will that be a place where Yegor thrives? We'll see. The Nets don't have as big of a platform as the Jets, but I'm waiting and seeing. But I'm happy for Yegor because everything that he wanted in the NBA, he was still able to get by being at BYU.
I think it's the worst spot that he could have went. I hate that he went to Brooklyn. I mean, they picked 4 guards in the first round, Mitch. Number 19, they picked Nolan Traore, a guy out of France. Number 22, Drake Powell, guard out of North Carolina. Number 26, Ben Seraph, guard out of Israel. There's 4 guards. And then you look at the existing roster, you got D'Angelo Russell, who's been a problem everywhere.
Unrestricted free agent, though, I believe, right?
Yeah, I guess, true. So maybe he's out.
Because he could be going to the Mavs, potentially.
They got to pay somebody, though, with their... Yeah. Anyways, they don't have a lot of great veteran players there that I feel like could take you under and help you become something. I really wanted him to go to Phoenix, to be honest with you. And Phoenix is a mess, too. Don't get me wrong. But I like that they have Devin Booker. I like that they have a new young coach that's presumably going to be there for a little while. I hate that he's going to Brooklyn, man. It's unfortunate that he goes to a spot where they do not have a reputation for talent development. They do not have a reputation for having a good culture. Like, your point on the Spurs is a great point, which is, sure, they haven't been good for 5 years since they traded Kawhi Leonard, but at least they have a stable franchise. They're not doing dumb stuff. It's like, why does it always feel like it's the Nets and the Wizards and the Suns doing stupid stuff in the NBA?
And the guys that BYU has produced to the NBA in the lottery. Nets now, we'll see what happens with Yegor. Jimmer to the Kings. That was a mess. It was a train wreck during the Maloof era. It was terrible. Hoffa, the Raptors, they were not nowhere near the franchise they were when they had Kawhi, and I know they've kind of got a management.
Not even
shakeup.
Vince.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mess. And then Sean Bradley when the Sixers were putrid. So it was just and look, when you're a lottery pick, you're probably going to go more likely than not to a bad team. But still, there's sometimes in years within the lottery, like there's years where guys will go, like the first two picks in the draft, they're going to go to situations where you could be playoff teams right away. And that's whereas Yegor's going to a team that is looking for anything and everything. And I think you bring up a good point about the guards. Are they going to not play Yegor at point guard? He himself said in his post-draft presser, I view myself as a point guard. And it's like, I hope they give him the chance to be that. I don't want to see him being a wing. It's like Yegor's got to be a point guard. He's got to be someone that can lead this team. And look, Cam Thomas, Cameron Johnson, the leading scorers for the Nets last year, they will love receiving passes from Yegor Demon. He is one of the great passers in the world. And when Kevin Young gives that seal of approval saying he's like LeBron, the way he passes, there's a lot of credibility behind that. And I believe that. We saw it for a full year. Yegor's a brilliant passer. And his game will fit so much better in the NBA than it did in college with the mess sometimes in the Big 12 and the officiating.
Right.
But you hope that franchise can turn the corner and they can be a winning organization. But they haven't got past the second round of the playoffs since Jason Kidd when they were playing the Lakers in the finals, man. It's been 20-plus years.
That's unbelievable, honestly.
They've been pretty much a first-round exit team, or
they squandered Kyrie and KD.
They had that year with the Bucks where they played the Bucks in the second round, and I think KD was his foot on the line.
Yes.
The Bucks went on to win the title, so that was probably the best team since the Jason Kidd squad. But yeah, Brooklyn's just hasn't done much, and it just doesn't give you that feeling of like, oh, that franchise alone can help lift up a player.
I would have loved for him to have dropped to 10 to the Suns.
Yeah.
I thought that 14 to the Spurs. They probably wouldn't have taken him. They've got a logjam at guard, but 15 to the Thunder.
And I wanted, for selfish reasons, I wanted to see him be a Jazz man.
Yeah.
I think the Jazz did a good job with their draft, Ace Bailey and then Walter Clayton Jr., Walt Lake City, as Florida's calling it. But, for selfish reasons, I wanted to see Yegor be here because he would have had a great support system. Fans would have been there every turn. BYU fans will still show up to Brooklyn games, I'm sure, but there's not as close of a connection between BYU and New York. So We'll see. I like to think Yegor's going to thrive no matter what, but to be determined.
So much of your success in the NBA is your landing spot. And knock on wood that Brooklyn, with a new coach, that they're going to turn the corner, because up until now, Brooklyn is a mess. So wishing him the best, though. Congrats to Yegor on being taken in the first round. Great for him. Great for BYU. It's great for everyone, except, we'll have to see how it works out in Brooklyn. Taking a break. On the other side, let's do some football preview with the running backs.
News. I'm Chuck Severson. Your senators on a Saturday afternoon are debating a big Republican tax cut and budget bill. Tax cuts are priority in the bill, and to pay for them, some Republicans are not happy with cuts to Medicaid. Senator Bernie Moreno, Ohio Republican, insisting.
Now, what we are doing is we're eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, which has been rampant in that system. And we're starting the process of reforming the way the states and the federal government's relationship works in Medicaid.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer.
And health care costs will go up health care costs will go up for everyone, even if you don't have Medicaid, even if you don't have ACA, even if you don't have Medicare. Your private insurance will go up dramatically.
There could be a procedural vote on the bill today. More than 1,000 flights have been canceled today as airlines recover from yesterday's bad storms, including tornadoes. That from the FAA and FlightAware. Atlanta is seeing the biggest disruptions. Delta Airlines, which has a major hub at Atlanta, is the most affected. The FBI says a cyber criminal hacking group is targeting airlines through their IT providers to impersonate employees and steal Social Security numbers and other personal info. This response from President Trump to the question of did Iran move and hide their enriched uranium before the U.S. attacks on nuke sites a week ago.
It's very dangerous to do. It's very heavy, very, very heavy. It's a very hard thing to do. Plus, we didn't give them much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then.
That part of an interview with Fox News airing tomorrow. Intelligence sources tell ABC News it could take weeks to get a clear picture of how much damage was done. Around 100,000 people defied a government ban and police orders today to march in what organizers called the largest LGBTQ pride event in Hungary's history, a rebuke of Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government. You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Today, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
Something about me, I don't like to settle. I work hard to be my best self, and I want a vehicle that matches. So I'm shopping for a Cadillac because their innovation and craftsmanship are top of the line. With a whole line of electric SUVs packed with state-of-the-art technology, I know I'll be driving away in redefined luxury. Help all of us at Jerry Seiner Cadillac celebrate our new location with an incredible buying experience for your dream car. Come in today to experience the Seiner difference.
Jeff Kaplan.
When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
The murder of two men forces their families to wrestle with impossible questions. Who is forgiveness for? Does everyone deserve a second chance? Follow Season 2 of The Letter, Ripple Effect, at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports. KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 3 coming your way. It's the final show of June. Next show we have will be after the 4th of July. We'll have a lot of interviews that we had from the golf event, which was very fun. Weather was immaculate. Before we get into our BYU football position preview for the week, quick thoughts on the golf event?
A lot of fun. I'm wearing the polo that was given to us. It's pretty cool vintage helmet logo that says BYU Media Golf Classic. BYU always does a good job. They're always great with, giving us this chance and really giving us an opportunity in the summer to, talk with the coaches and players and talk ball. It was a little bit awkward with the elephant in the room with Jake Rzoff, and no one was really answering questions. Parker Kingston did talk a little bit about just the dynamics of the locker room right now, but that aside from that, it was just good to understand that football is around the corner. It's been a really quick off season with BYU basketball going to the Sweet 16, the eventful transfer portal, the exciting official visits and recruiting, and well, here we are now. It's July 4th, and next thing you know, it's Big 12 Media Day and fall camp, and the season is here. So it was just a nice check-in on the football team, but really there's not much to learn from that event right now because this football team is pretty known as far as everything but the quarterback spot, and it's just a matter now of continuing to build on the successes that they had last year and taking it to a greater level in 2025.
One position, Mitch, as we transition into our position preview, that will be really important, especially considering the news of yesterday and the possibility that Jake Rzoff could be missing some time, is this running back room. Can you rely on, whether it is Jake or someone else, can you rely on this group to make the offense unpredictable, well-balanced, and take some pressure off the quarterback? What are your overall thoughts on this year's running back room?
It's a retention-based group. They didn't go from the outside and go to the portal to turn for help. They're focusing on developing from within, and I think it's a really talented unit. And there's a lot of really intriguing players in this running back unit, particularly LJ Martin. We got to start there. The third-year running back for BYU. Back-to-back seasons, the leading rusher, but yet to hit the 1,000-yard mark in his BYU career, at least, or not in career, but in a single season at BYU. LJ Martin has been dealing with injuries the past 2 years. Can he stay fully healthy? That's going to be the big question on him. But that Alamo Bowl performance where he was the offensive MVP was, to me, a glimpse of how good this guy can be. And I think every Cougar fan listening has known that L.J. Martin is a good football player, but can he be a Jamal Williams? Can he be, one of the all-timers, Tyler Algier, that pantheon of great BYU running backs? Can he be in that conversation? And I think that Alamo Bowl was that real breakthrough for him to start to entertain that thought. And spring ball was nothing much learned there for him because I think BYU coaches were just very careful with him. Not to say like, oh, we got to put him in saran wrap because he's just going to get hurt by any touch, but with his injury history, making sure he's fully healthy, you want him ready 9 weeks from today. I don't need to see any more of L.J. Martin, but I just think, Matt, he's got all Big 12 potential, and no one's talking about him nationally, but to me, L.J. Martin could be a special Tyler Algier type of single season in BYU, and they need a big production year from him. I think he's got to be outstanding for the Cougars.
And if it's not him, I think he'll have a great year, by the way. But if there are injuries or if this next guy is just putting up the kind of impact we saw in that Kansas State game, you got to love the depth you have with Sione Moa coming back. I thought he was outstanding last season, and he brings you a little different flair than L.J. Martin. I loved in that Colorado game that you referenced, L.J. breaking tackles, making plays in the open field, but Sione Moa, to me, was clearly the team's best runner at yards after contact last season. He was fantastic, and it's unfortunate he had an injury that kind of derailed the momentum after that Kansas State game, but your top two with LJ and Sione, that is a great top two. And you look, in a perfect world, they're both healthy and you can distribute the carries and you don't have to workhorse anybody, but you feel good giving 20-plus carries to either of those guys, and that's a nice luxury to have.
And the great thing about L.J. Martin being lightly used, and again, it wasn't injury-based. It was just more precautionary, just making sure that he's good to go for fall. Sione Moa got a lot of the first-team reps, and I thought he looked outstanding. When I think back to March and spring ball practices, the guys that always stood out to me every time we had a media observation period, Keelan Marion, he's gone now. Not to worry about talking about him now. He's off to Miami. Then Sione Moa. I thought every time I saw him play, he did what you were talking about, yards after contact. He just gets positive yards, and he takes care of the ball. I think back to last year, too, at this time when, in spring ball, you could easily discredit it, 4-team reps, 3rd-team reps. But he'd always make plays. And then when he got called upon last year, he was great. That running back unit for BYU, you feel a lot better about this group because of how it played out last year. It wasn't ideal to have L.J. Martin dealing with the shoulder, and then it was the ankle that he suffered against SMU. But it created opportunities for players like Miles Davis, who's now with Utah State, but he got to play. Enoch Nawahine got to play, who's back with the team, and he's going to be one of the top 4. Sione Moa played. So many different guys played to where Aaron Roderick's got and Harvey Unga, the running back coach, have this valuable actual game reps. It's one thing to do it in practice, but it's another thing to actually do it in a game where you go, they performed well. And that was an undefeated BYU football team through the first 9 weeks, and these guys were performing at a nice clip to where it was not derailing the season despite not having L.J. Martin. That just gives you a lot of confidence, and that momentum continues to build. And I think it's one of the reasons why BYU did not go to the portal to supplement L.J. Martin, because they're like, we have actual game film on the Sione Moas, on the Enoch Nawahines. We like these guys. And then you pair them up with some young studs in Pokayawa Hunga, and then Jovesa Damuni, who's more of a deeper prospect. We don't know much yet on him, but it's more, projection based. He got a little bit of second-team reps at times in spring ball. That's your top 5, and that's pretty good. And I think there's a feeling like they can dig into that depth and give a necessary breather to Martin, and the offense can still continue to produce at a high level.
Who do you think's the best NFL prospect in that group?
It's got to be L.J. Martin to me. Running backs in the NFL are just always difficult. I almost just think it's going to be at best a 6th-rounder or an undrafted free agent. Maybe you're seeing a little bit of a surge again in the running back position as you're seeing some guys go, first round, like the Saquon Barkleys, the Bijan Robinsons, but those are exceptions, not the norm. But I'd say LJ still because of his opportunity, the volume, the production so far. He'd be my pick. Would you say something different?
I would. I would say Sione Moa, and I might be biased with some recency, but I kind of see a little Cam Skataboo there for Sione Moa, just an ability to get something out of nothing. And I feel like there is a value there in the NFL to just always make positive plays, even if you're a little undersized. If you have this just reckless ability to get extra yards, I think there is a value there. Now, both of them, Mitch, they got to prove they can be healthy. And they got to also, I think both of them need to show a little bit more explosion this year, a little more home run ability. But I think Martin and Moa, I think, have the potential. It's just about putting it on the field.
An underrated piece to LJ Martin, too, in his career arc. How does he become as a leader? Become more vocal. You sometimes hear maybe it's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek from teammates, but sometimes they say, I've barely heard from the guy, maybe on the defensive side players. LJ's a quiet guy. He kind of sets his example by what he does on the field. I feel like with him, and it's not as pressing at running back compared to, say, quarterback, but he's going to take on a bigger stage. And does he become more of a leader that's finding his voice a little bit more? I just feel like that, to me, I don't know how you measure that, but I feel like it unlocks something that's, you can maybe take it to another level as far as a player goes when you have the great on-field production, but also you're a leader off the field too, and you're vocal, and you're someone that sets that example. And I think maybe it's a little bit of seeing what transpired last year with the 11-2 season, and vocal leaders like Batty, like Connor Pay, that put themselves out there and set the tone for this program. That was huge for BYU, and I would expect on the offensive side it starts with Chase Roberts on the wide receiver position, but LG's got to be there too, in my opinion, because he's going to be someone that a lot of Cougar fans look upon to perform at a high level on the field, but off the field, I think he's got to be a leader for his teammates as well.
Breakout candidate for you?
I think Sione Moa probably would be the guy, because it wouldn't surprise me if he's someone that's north of 550 yards in the season, and LJ still gets his. I think this is a football team that wants to run the ball. Like Aaron Roderick, sure, he wants to stretch the field and throw the home run balls, but if he can get out of a game quick and just eat up that clock and run the football, they will. And I think they've got the personnel where you can do that and just lean on the ground attack with LJ Martin and Sione Moa. So Moa's going to get his, and I think he could probably be a bigger breakout player. He was that a little bit in K-State. It's just going to be a bigger sample size this year.
Yeah, it's him or Pokai for me, probably Sione. I mean, really, his impact isn't as big as you would think when you look at the numbers. He had 29 carries on the year for 144 yards. After that Kansas State game in which he had 15 carries for 76 yards, 5 yards a rush, he only had 8 carries the rest of the season. Think about that.
Houston game and Colorado, pretty much. I think he had maybe one touch against
Utah.
One
touch against Utah, 1 touch against Kansas, 2 against Houston, 4 against Colorado. So there's a big opportunity for him to take a surge. And Pokai is interesting just because how do you break him in? Like, if you want to flex him out into an alternate role, do you want to take snaps away from Parker Kingston and some of the wide receivers? I don't know. I think that group's really talented, so harder to break him in, but he's gotten rave reviews in the past from coaches, so he's another guy to keep an eye on.
I think the biggest question for this group is, for me, just can they stay healthy? Can LJ, can Sione Moa, can Nawahine, all these guys, can you just stay healthy? BYU, that position, it feels like, and maybe I'd have to dive into it a little bit more, but just from
post-Algier, they have not been healthy.
Yeah, even before Algier, there was that year in 2018 where they go up to Utah and they're digging into their 4th string running back, and Hadley's playing like a stud, and they just had that position. Just seems like they get to a point where they're always digging to that 4th or 5th string, and can they just stay with the top 2 and not have to dig in and just work in the 3rd string guy in a situational base deal? That's what I hope for. Can they stay healthy? That's the biggest question for me.
For me, I sort of touched on it, but it's Pokai. How do you get him in? He's got the talent, but where does he get the touches? So I'm curious to see how they work Pokai in.
Real quick before we get to a break, a deep sleeper, and this is a deep sleeper. Someone that I think could be pretty good down the road. I really liked what I saw from him in spring ball is Logan Payne, Matt Payne's son, brother to Tyler Payne, the linebacker. Again, it was like 4 team reps, but I value that. I think when you perform and you're coming off the mission, he was a baller at Weber High. I feel like, and eventually you're going to get to the hard count 105 in a few years. This year it's grandfathered in where, walk-ons can still be part of it. Valuable time for him to earn his place in the future with the program. But Logan Payne, I think, is a name to watch. I liked what I saw from him in spring ball.
Let's take a break. On the other side, I caught up with defensive coordinator Jay Hill earlier in the week at the Cedar Hills Golf Club. You'll hear the interview with the Cougar DC next.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hey folks, it's Jay Broadbent here with Alpine Home Medical, celebrating 28 years of keeping Utah and Idaho comfortable and at home. Back in '97, I started with a truck, a dream, and a lot more hair. Today, we've got 11 stores from Idaho Falls to St. George. From the moment you step into our clean, welcoming showrooms, you'll feel the Alpine difference. Our team will be there to listen and guide you to the best solutions for your needs. We believe that the right equipment can transform lives. We're honored to be a part of your healthcare journey and to help you live the life you deserve. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Imagine struggling with a slow, outdated computer that takes forever to load anything, that randomly freezes up and is filled with viruses and malware.
Now picture yourself with a powerful desktop or laptop that runs smoothly and efficiently, making your work and entertainment seamless. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
The 2025 Ute Stampede Rodeo and Extreme Bowls in Nephi, Utah. On July 9th, it's a wild Wednesday in Nephi. As 40 of the best bull riders in the PRCA will be trading big dollar blows with bulls from Flying U, Diamond G, and Andrews Pro Rodeo. It's your chance to come and witness the hardest hitting and most exciting sport in the PRCA. The Cowboys will be letting it all loose to grab their share of $35,000 and a spot at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. Get tickets at UtestampedeRodeo.com or 435-623-5608.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
Cougar Sports Saturday, KSN News Radio here with defensive coordinator Jay Hill. Jay, how's the recruiting period of the offseason been?
Busy. June with summer camps and now recruiting weekends, June has become super busy, but I love the recruits that we've had visiting us. I love the opportunity that we've had to get to know so many of those great players that, we've been deep in recruiting with. I'm excited to see all the ones we land and how those guys look in front of Cougar Nation.
How has recruiting changed from your first recruiting period here as DC to now?
Well, I think it continues to get better and better. I mean, obviously winning 11 games helps. Being in the Big 12 for 3 years now has really helped. Our footprint across the western part of the United States and through Texas, I think, is getting better and better. I love where we're at as a program. I think BYU in this world of NIL and transfer portal, we're in a great spot where we can flourish. I love our staff right now and how they recruit and how we do it together. So I think the future's bright. Continue to land these big-time guys and get them out on the field for us.
You mentioned the staff. How much momentum, maybe that's not the right word, but how much advantage do you have recruiting when you can pitch the staff and the continuity that this staff has?
Well, I pitched our defensive staff a lot since I've been at BYU. I think it's the best one in the country. I get to work with the best guys out there. And the way they've developed their guys and the way our defense has progressed through the last 2 years, we went from being not a great defense to one of the best in the country now. And I think that's all a tribute to those guys I get to work with every day. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I think everyone knows the relationship I've had with, Fesi Sitake and Aaron Roderick. I think those guys are phenomenal. They're great recruiters. But, now you add Kevin Gilbride and Harvey Unga and TJ Woods to that mix. We have a staff that can recruit. We got guys that know the game of college football. I love who Kalani's put together. It's a staff that you can trust and put your eggs in their basket.
A few more moments here with defensive coordinator Jay Hill. For as long as you've been here, Jay, you've always talked about developing depth. How do you feel like the depth is going to be for the team this year?
Well, I think it's way better than it's been, and I don't think it's close to what it's going to be in the next couple of years. Just as we continue to have the recruiting classes that we've had the last few years, as those guys get to be more and more veteran, it's going to get more and more competitive for the young guys that we bring in. Obviously, we want to continue to have 11-plus win seasons like we did last year, but that aids in having great recruiting classes. So I like where we're at right now, but I don't think we're close to what we're going to be.
How do you balance depth in terms of keeping players here, with unlimited transfers and the transfer portal? How do you retain the personnel to be able to have that depth?
Well, it's hard. We saw that at linebacker a little bit. When you got really good linebackers in your room, some of those guys below them want to play, and they think, well, maybe I can go somewhere else to play. But I don't know that that's always the answer, because you need your depth, and those guys are going to play, and they have big roles on our football team, and the grass is not always greener, and it's our job to make sure that the players understand that, there's a lot of noise out there right now that people are trying to make transferring look maybe more glamorous than it really is. And I think the key is we got to take care of our players in a way that they don't want to leave us.
One room, your room in particular, has just unbelievable depth. How are you going to attack the depth chart and just the depth that you have at safety?
Well, I think that's always a concern. Last year we had 6 different guys that started football games for us, or the last 2 years. And some of the best guys that we brought in were some of our young freshmen. And so it's got to continue to be competitive. May the best guy play. And they know that with me, that if they're the best, they're going to play. Last year we started 2 walk-ons, and they both played at all-conference caliber levels. And this year we need the same thing from the guys that will be on the field. But there's going to be 5 or 6 of them that are in an absolute battle to play the most this year.
Do you like playing 5 or 6 safeties? Is that like a perfect situation, or would you maybe whittle that down if you could?
Yeah, I think that's too many. I think there's 5 or 6 that I trust that we can win with, but I would like to see 2 or 3 of them really elevate themselves beyond the others and prove that they're the ones that deserve, 80 or 90% of the reps.
Last thing for you, Jay. What is the next step for this defense? You noted what you guys did last year. It was a great defensive year, but what do you want to see in terms of a jump from the defense this year?
Well, first we got to maintain what made us really good last year. Our pass defense was spectacular. We did a great job of getting out of drives, especially with our turnovers. This year we got to stop the run a little bit better, be a little bit more stout and dominating, and we can get after the passer a little bit more with our pass rush. So if we can add those few things coupled with what we did well last year, we got a chance to be really good.
Can I sneak in one more?
Yes.
Are you going to be in the booth or on the field? Have you figured that out yet?
Well, it's hard to go and make a change when you won 11 games last year.
Fair.
Right now the plan is to be in the booth.
Cool. Jay, have a great summer, and we'll see you in the fall.
Thank you so much.
There you go. Getting you ready for BYU football. We're taking the break here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Back with more football on the other side. Stay with us.
At Intermountain Health, we believe life is a circle. May yours surround you with insight, a healthy perspective, trust, and reassurance. The belief that our differences aren't that different, and compassion just when you need it most. Life is a circle. May yours help you live the healthiest life possible. Intermountain Health.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
For more than 75 years, University of Maryland Global Campus has given you the opportunity to build your next success. Choose from more than 135 degree and certificate programs in career-relevant fields like business, healthcare, data analytics, cybersecurity, and more. Plus, we offer 100% online and hybrid courses, personalized advising, and lifetime career services. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing for a summer sale, starting at $20 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $20 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year.
These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Don't miss the 91st Annual Youth Stampede Rodeo with extreme bowls on July 9th through 12th. Athletes and explosive entertainment. Music, food, and multiple days of family fun. Visit YouthStampedeRodeo.com.
GoPave Utah is your gold standard for parking lot paving and repairs. Contact GoPave Utah today. GoPaveUtah.com. GoPaveUtah.com.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete and another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three.
He got it again! BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
BYU football they're experiencing a lot of momentum right now after the commitment of Ryder Lions, five-star quarterback. And to discuss more about Ryder Lions and who he is as a quarterback, none better to go to his high school head coach, Paul Doherty of Folsom High School, been the head coach at Folsom